Was that you, Ken? I'm walking on concrete. I don't know. Well, look at this. How beautiful. You see this? It's the Church of Saint Maria, and of course, that's been just a bonus being able to get in and have a look around. So let's go to the gate and launch the show, shall we? How wonderful is this? An absolute bonus for us to get into this beautiful church, St Mary the Virgin. We're here in Ovingham, and the church invited us in, a big sign on the door saying come in and have a look, and absolutely amazing. You want to come over here because some of these on here, amazing stories, because a lot of the people of Ovingham that people don't realise were very, very famous. Look at this one. The memory of Henry Lancelot Bigg, captain in the 66th Regiment of the Bengal Native Infantry and assistant to the Governor General, who died in Birashol on the River Ganges. I mean, amazing tales of famous folk. There's another one with the Cross of St George, Raymond Bigg. This is all the Bigg family. And each one of them seems to be famous. This one in the 70th Regiment of Infantry. This one, formerly vicar, 6th son of Charles Bigg. More Biggs on this wall. Jemima Susanna Bigg. And these are the Blacketts. The Reverend James Burkett. There's one story from in here that I'll tell you about a little later. Thomas Buick. It's the gravestone. His grave and his wife is outside. Isabella Buick. Ooh, what's that? Watch that step, because I didn't. And if you want to come here for a little bit of absolute peace, Tony, you need to come around here, man. An amazing painting that looks absolutely medieval. A place that you would come if you wanted a little bit of solitude, if this is your faith. Look at that beautiful set of images. Private Turner, died and buried in France. If love could save, thou hast not died. Well, that's beautiful. Little mini tributes in all departments. How amazing. Now the thing is, the best part about this are these. That's the gravestone of Thomas Buick and Isabella.
Which you'd never see because they're all still inside too.
So they brought, it's a memorial stone. Yeah. Also, do you see that?
Yeah.
Saxon, 400 AD. And if you look behind you, you'll see more Saxon stones. Yeah, they brought this in. This used to be called the Pirate's Stone.
Right.
Can you get a close-up on that skull, Tony? Let everybody see it at home. Now, back in the day, people believed that this was the stone belonging to a pirate.
Right.
It's still called the pirate stone, but the truth is, he wasn't a pirate. The scythe and the serpent circle was a sign that he died of plague.
Right.
So sometimes skull and crossbones can mean plague. Sometimes it can just mean Scotsman, because the Scots were considered wicked and evil. But it's this lot here. This is the main. These are the really old stones. And when you put your hand on these things, this is the earliest Christianity you can get, pretty much, because these were a stand-up cross from way back. There you go. Medieval cross slabs.
Sealed the coffin?
Yeah. But how amazing that we're able to get in just to have a look at things that are that old. And people, the lovely thing is, people are still leaving tributes. Look, you know, after all these years. And when you touch these things, it takes, what is that? What does that symbolise?
Me.
Do you know what I mean? What is it?
I can't see with the light on it.
Go on.
Just,
Couldn't it?
what does it mean?
That could be an alien.
But it takes you back, to other times, doesn't it?
Oh, it does.
Takes you way back. Some of these Saxon, and the Saxons began in 410. You know, so it's a long way away. So let's start here before we go outside into the frost, because it's bitter outside today. We're here for one reason. Now, it's a bonus that we get into the place of Offa's son, Ovingham, Offa's son's ham, really. And now we call it Ovingham, just across the river from Prudhoe. If you go along the A69, you can see it.
Come on, look what that is.
It's a cross. I know you're seeing perhaps a deeper root than other people. We didn't think we'd be able to get into this church to see this, and more than the church, that's what I wanted to see, because it's amazing. It's timeless, absolutely timeless. And it begs, what are these little, what are these smaller things? What was here? Do you see? I don't know whether you can make this out, Tony. Can you see the sword?
Oh, hello.
Hello.
Just want to lock up there.
Oh, we're just
How amazing is this? Just look at it. Absolutely incredible. A full sword.
get out your way.
So I'm curious now what I'm missing out on. I'm one of the wardens here.
All right, that's okay. No, we're just doing a little bit of history about the place, because we've come to look at the miners' statue that's over yonder, so we're heading there next.
You might be able to help us. You might be able to tell us where the sea one is.
Yeah, there's apparently a tribute to people lost at sea, a very small tribute. Are you aware of it or not?
No.
For those that were lost at sea, it was supposed to be in a corner of the churchyard. We haven't been able to find it. We just had a cursory look around.
There's a curious grave. Where's the one, Evie, with the guy whose child committed suicide? So that it's on the back with a kind of slightly curious inscription.
We just.
I think
we just read that.
I think
one.
we've seen it. We've got it. So what's the story? Someone committed suicide?
Yeah. So that's kind of not acceptable, is it?
Right,
Not to the church, so they put it on the back of the tombstone.
Right.
We saw the writing on the back
we
and we
thought that
didn't
was the
understand what it was. Right. Oh, that's great. We'll go and have another look at that. But hey, sorry to hold you up.
These are curious, aren't they?
Yeah,
They're beautiful,
absolutely
beautiful.
amazing. Absolutely. We've just been seeing that there.
No, absolutely timeless as well. Takes you back to another world. I love the fact that even after all of these years, you can still actually make out the actual shape of a working sword from way back then. Not just something that's used as like a killing machine. That's, it's been properly designed and they've got the full thing on there. It's beautiful. Just makes you wonder what all the little tiny extras are. It's wonderful. But no, sorry.
We just had the Augustines in from Hexham Abbey.
Right.
Do you know them?
Yes, because they used to be at the vicarage here, the Augustine monks, didn't they?
Aye, exactly, yeah. Just across.
Right.
And then,
Yeah.
so do you know the painted panels in the Abbey, the 10 panels?
Yes.
They think they came from here.
Wow.
I'll show you where.
Yeah, please. Yeah. What an adventure. Fantastic. No, it's great.
Oh, there you go.
So,
You probably take all this for granted, don't you?
well, there's a lot of it. So they think the original was where oh, I forget the words, the bulge on the pillars, they were across the centre,
All right.
and then in effect there was a pulpit
Right.
raised on a spiral staircase up the side there that would preach from the top there.
Right.
over.
No, that it makes sense, because why would you have that, which is like an echo chamber? Why would you stand on the podium there if you had all of that
Yeah.
to spread
And
sound?
also, the architecture doesn't quite hang together the way it's.
Yeah, well, on top of that, though, the tower being original, and the rest of the church has been rebuilt over the years, hasn't it?
Yeah. For sure.
It's amazing. It's just a beautiful place. When you come in, you just know you're in somewhere special.
Yeah.
I was just surprised when we saw that the door was open, because we were led to believe like it closed at 5.
It's shoddy church.
On the-
about 9 o'clock. Yeah.
But no, it's all good.
And this bit, they reckon, the stonemason died halfway through the job.
Oh, the top bit, yeah, I see. So it's not quite fully carved.
Yeah.
So they just left
died
it?
on the job.
Wow.
So yeah, he got as far as that and stopped.
That's really cool in itself. But you say it's worth leaving because you've got the story of it, and it brings the history to life, doesn't it?
Just put when they put the BT cable in.
Uh-huh.
So if you're beneath about 6 inches of the soil,
Right.
burns. Because that's why it's raised. Because it's whatever, nearly 1,000 years of burial up on it.
And presumably they didn't leave it 6 feet down. They just on top and on top and on top and on top.
So that's why the wall's raised outside, obviously, because it's so old.
Because in Europe, there's a lot of cemeteries like that. They dig down and they take the bones out so they can put new bones in. But what would you do with them?
Fertiliser, like the French after Waterloo.
Oh, I know, I know, but they did that. But that's horrific, isn't it? Just to go to the garden and you have manure piles where your relatives are. Creepy. Hey, but thank you very much, mate. Appreciate it. Thanks a lot, love.
Bye.
Cheers. Right. Happy day. Lovely people. That's special. Right. Now, we're coming round here. Caught in the act. However, the reason that you know the suicide that he's just talking about, let's go there first. It's over here. Now, we've been asked to come to Ovingham, not to see the church, strangely enough. We got a letter from a girl called Karen, who lives in Horsley now, which is just up the road, and she said she's seen a ghost in the same place that she first saw a ghost when she was a child in 1974, near some stepping stones. Now, we've just done some stepping stones, and it was when we were in Morpeth, when we walked across them, that she said, oh, I remember when I saw something. So she's the reason we're here, and we're going to go around and see a lot of amazing things in the meantime. But first of all, it's over here, isn't it, Kenny? Where did you see it? I think it's that one. Or is it that one? Oh, no, it's there. It's there. So apparently... So here we go. And apparently they committed suicide, so they weren't allowed to engrave it on the front because it's a sin against God. So they put this strange reading literally on the back of it, which is absolutely incredible. So the main reason we're here, though, is to go up. So follow me this way, Tony. It's just in the corner, and it's there you go. You can see the statue from here. An amazing story. In the graveyard of St Mary the Virgin, consecrated in 1050, and it's on the site of an original abbey. The tower, this tower here that we're looking back at, is the original one, built from stones robbed from Hadrian's Wall. And the the weird thing is that when you look at this, can you see the very top where the bell tower is? You might have to step out from behind a tree. Can you see it, Tony?
I can see it.
Well, there used to be a window there, and the old Abbot of Hexham came here when King Henry VIII was trying to take part in the dissolution of the abbey, and he got put in a suit of armour and he climbed up to the top of the tower, and with a sword in one hand and a spear in the other, he said to King Henry VIII, "You can go kiss my holy derriere, and you're not taking this church from the people of Ovingham." And the troops of King Henry VIII dragged him down and hanged him from a tree that was in the middle of the cemetery just over there. It's no longer there. It was chopped down in the 1800s, and it was known as the Abbot's Gallows, the tree that used to stand roughly there. But one of the main reasons we're here is this. Is it a ghost story? I'm not sure that it is, but it's the story of this fella. Tony, go and have a look. His name was John Wormald, and he died aged 59. He was a pitman, and he was much beloved by the people who worked down the pit with him. Now, one day, aged 59, his job was called an overman. And as an overman, he's in control of an awful lot of workers, particularly the way in and the way out of the pit. So the cage to get you down and the cage to get you back up again. And he was down next to 3 or 4 tubs, and the tubs were running loose on a rail, and the rails crushed him to death. Now, the story about this statue is that if you're a pitman and you look up at his face, he smiles. He smiles at you. I don't know, can you make an expression out of his face, or do you want me to light it up, or is that too much?
It's too much for the camera, yeah.
Is it? Well, apparently if you're a pitman and you look up here, you'll see John Wormald smiling at you because you're a fellow pitman. Now, I'm from a pit family, but he's not smiling at me, so obviously I didn't do as dirty a job as those fellas. But I think the things that they have in this cemetery, although this is not the main reason we're here because this is a bonus more than anything else. There's that statue, Kenny, with the miner on it, smiling at everybody.
That's superb. What a lovely man he is.
No, it's great. And of course, I'll tell you the other thing that we can show you. I don't know whether you want to come across here, Tony, just over here. There's, you know, when we were inside, there's 2 names of people that were buried here. One's called Thomas Blackett, and I don't know whether you've ever been to Newcastle down Blackett Street. Yeah. So his family's here. And we've also got Thomas Bewick. Now, Thomas Bewick was a wood carver. He also carved cutlery with very special, spectacular designs. An amazing man, greatly beloved by famous people of the time. Now, this is Little Ovingham, bless. And the people here are lovely. The little villages are very special and welcoming. But imagine if you were somebody that's just wrote a book. Would you revere them particularly? You'd say, oh, well done. But,
yeah, but you wouldn't. No.
You wouldn't think it's anything special. But back in the day when hardly anybody could read, it was a massive big deal. And this, he did one book about British birds where he described everything about the birds. Just amazing. Now, you saw their graves, his and his wife's grave, Isabella, in the porch of the church that we were lucky enough to just get in time. But they had to take the headstones away because so many people were coming to see his grave because he was so super famous. Let's show you where he's actually, he's buried. You can show Tony where that is after we get out and we show you. It's just there. The graves are just here because it's not a huge cemetery here. It was weird, but wasn't it? All the noises we heard in the church. I mean, that was like full on. It really was. I know, yeah. And of course, these are the graves. Isabella Bewick and Thomas Bewick. Isabella died 2 years before Thomas. And there's some stories from famous folk Alfred Lord Tennyson, right, wrote a gate in a field half ploughed, a solitary cow, a child with a broken slate, and a titmarsh in the bow. But where is Bewick to tell me the meaning now? Because Bewick had just died. William Wordsworth, oh how that the genius of Bewick were mine. Charlotte Bronte wrote lines on the celebrated Bewick. Aesop's Fables, illustrated by Bewick, made Aesop's Fables famous. So Kenny, take Tony where that other inventor is.
Right.
You'll have to stay with the mic.
I'm going too. Come on.
Are you coming as well?
Yeah. Come on. It's just round here, and we'll show that grave of a knight as well, because there's a knight's grave down here, isn't it? That's Bewick's again, just here. Well, come this way, Kenny. Just don't fall down the hole. The knight's grave's just here.
Yeah.
You seen another one taken in his prime? You see the scythe and the serpent?
Yeah. Got it.
There's the knight's grave. I'm not sure whether it's a Templar. I don't think it is, because the cross is a different shape. So where is that? Can you remember? Yeah. Kenny found one before. Some of these go way back to like the 15 and 1600s. Here he is. It's stamped, isn't it? Metal stamped.
Original inventor.
Of the three-legged gravity escapement made for a clock for Robert Stevenson in 1857.
How mad is that?
That's amazing. And there's another one round this side as well. A man of singular integrity and simplicity of character and of great mechanical ingenuity, who died suddenly, aged 66. That's amazing.
Isn't it?
And just finally, just in the corner at the opposite end, there's a massive memorial to all the soldiers. And one of the buildings was given to the church by the family. I think it's the building over the road. We'll be visiting that in a second. There's the memorial there in the corner, because a surprising number of brave lads from Ovingham fought in the First and Second World Wars. Incredible. Now, to be honest, we weren't going to start. This is not the start that we planned, but we fell lucky with the church being open, and we found out about suicides. We found out about a builder who died while he was erecting a pillar, so one of the pillars isn't actually finished off, so they've just left it kind of in tribute to a hard-working man doing his thing. But the reason we're here is Karen, who said she's seen ghosts next to the steppy stones. So I thought, let's start in the middle of Ovingham, so anybody who's ever been here will know where we are. We're literally just around the corner from one of the big pubs here, the White Swan. Kenny's already popped in there. We'll not say for how long nor why. But the place we're starting is incredible, and it's literally just around the corner. So let's make our way there now. All right, Ken, let's do it. We're heading back to the main path and out. And it was interesting what Paul was saying there. He says that when you get outside, you realise that the ground has been raised. Do you see how high it is from the path? Can you see the difference there? And the reason he says as to why is because there's human bones outside of graves underneath all of this. If you go down 6 inches in the soil, he says there's human bones in the entire place. We would never have known that if we hadn't spoken to him. Amazing. So we come back down, and just imagine how many human bones it would take to raise it to that height. Amazing. And if ever there's, you know, when you're watching Jekyll and Hyde or Frankenstein, you always see that kind of thing, don't you? You know what I mean? How
It's very old school.
creepy. And when you look back, you see the statue of Mary and Jesus there on the front. You see the cross, and you see a tower from 1050. This is before the Battle of Hastings. This is before William conquered. You got this amazing old tower that's still in one place, and you can see the difference of the brickwork to the rest of the church. And the bricks that built the tower used to have Romans fighting behind them. I mean, you don't get, from a history point of view, you don't get better than that. And then you discover that the grass bank on the side, look at how high it is. How many human bones do you think it's going to take to lift a site? 3 feet, 4 feet, what would you say? Good
Yeah,
3 feet though, isn't
Definitely, yeah.
it? Amazing.
It's higher up here as well.
I know, that's what I mean. But on both sides, incredible. So, let's get along here. You've got to be careful because Ovingham, right, we're coming back to this because this is important, but there's stuff all around here. First of all, we are, oh, careful tonight. Now this whole arrangement's downright peculiar. This is Ovingham Bridge. If you go across to the other side, it's Prudde, and if you go across to the other side and just turn left, it's Prudde Castle, which is very, very famous for their story of the Grey Lady, the ghost of the Grey Lady. But there's a ghost on these steps regularly, and I'll tell you more about that. Well, I say regularly. It's been spotted a bit, and it appeared on page 4 of the Evening Chronicle back in 1968. Does that make it famous? Not sure. Anyway, down here, Tony, you can lead the way, because this is a peculiar arrangement. Cars can only come either one way or the other down that tiny little narrow bit, and everybody that has a 4-wheel drive car is wetting themselves to make sure they don't hit the balcony anywhere. They don't hit the sides. And as you can see, there's water straight ahead of you. The old bridge, the water flowing from down below, the River Tyne, of course. Prudde Castle that you'll not be able to see in this darkness, the only medieval castle never ever to be captured by the Scots. It was held for the crown by the French family, the Dumfravilles, from the 1100s. Robert de Umfraville fought at the Battle of Bannockburn in 1314. He was taken prisoner by Robert de Brou. Robert the Bruce, the Scots called him, but he was French. Robert de Brou, Robert the Bruce. And money set him free because he was rich. And then he was sent back by the king to work on a truce. He died in Prudde Castle. And there's a really good story. We're not quite over the water yet, too.
No.
You've got to go just another, and you can just see bits of the castle in the night light. And I think, I stand to be corrected, but I think you see that all that smokiness. It's not actually smoke, it's condensation. I believe that's Kimberly Clark. You've probably wiped your bottom with their product. Now look how far down that is. And you see how fast it's
Very
dripping.
fast.
I mean, it's really super fast flowing, the river here. Now along on the other side, and I know you can't see the other side because that's where the motorway is, but the water on the other side, and I mean over there, if you're looking over there, there used to be a toll booth. And the toll booth for a small wooden bridge that used to come across, and everybody had to pay their toll, otherwise they couldn't get across the river from Prudde to come to something that's very, very famous. I know we've come all the way, Prudde Castle's over in that direction there, and it's kind of, you see where the light is here, it's kind of just behind it. I'm not even sure we'd be able to make anything out of it, so let's not bother. But what we can say is that when Robert Dumfraville died, apparently his ghost appeared on the battlements of Prudde Castle, and his entire figure was shining white, as if his armour had turned white, and the Christians said it's because he was fighting for God and country. And his ghost, this big white shining thing, used to stand on the battlements and shout rude things at the Scots attacking from this way, many of them unable to get across the river because the river runs so quickly. And the Scottish at the time said on 2 occasions an army came down to take on Prudhoe Castle. Remember, it never fell to the Scots, ever. Thousands of Scots died trying to take Prudhoe Castle. But on 2 occasions, the leader of the Scots got this far, looked across at the castle before any of the houses and any of the factories and stuff were built, and saw this golden figure. Now, we're not sure whether on purpose the people in the castle lit up this supposed ghost and walked it along the battlements, this fiery figure. But on 2 occasions, the Scots got this far and they said, "We saw the spirit of Robert Dumfrieville, and my men turned and ran," on 2 separate occasions. So whether it was a trick or whether it really was a ghost, we'll never know, but hell of a story all the same. So anyway, there's something about being on this bridge that makes my testicles shrink up inside my body. It is very, because it's incredibly high up. This is
one of them graves, obviously.
creepy.
Newcastle was a big thing in 1790 or whatever, because it's got like Rob Edrington of Newcastle, and Newcastle's done an all nice fancy writing,
Yeah.
so it's obviously...
Well, it's the place where the richer people lived.
Yeah.
To be honest, across here there was Prudhoe Colliery, there was dye makers and dye. People used to use fancy dyes here in Ovingham. It was one of the big things, and of course Thomas Bewick doing his carvings. Yeah, absolutely, in more ways than one. No, it's fascinating, the whole story here.
And yet you never think of this when you come to Ovingham, or you come...
Well, you don't, and also...
to Clover's house, golf place, and,
Yeah.
or afternoon tea.
But if you think about this just for a second, and you look at the trees over on this side, Tony, you know, down here, this area here, whichever way you dress it up, you see it runs down to the river there. And there's something similar on the opposite bank, right? This whole area with the Scots trying to get across, there was absolute slaughter down here. So if you're a ghost hunter at any degree, you have to come and look at places like this, because how many people died there? I mean, it was a slaughter. They tried to conquer the castle on about 40 different times. So what about the ghost that's up this hill? Well, at Ovingham, it's one of the most famous fairs for hundreds and hundreds of years. It could be as early as 450 AD. It used to be a Saxon market here in the Dark Ages, one of Britain's earliest goose fairs in the 1200s. By the 1400s, it was an annual event here on the 30th of November, St Andrew's Day, because so many Scots came down to sell their wares. And now it's a couple of days in June, but we're going up here. So now, before the houses were built here, because there's houses behind me now, this was the centerpiece. I'm sitting on one of the key stones, and that's what we're looking at. Take a look at that. You think it's just another statue. Go up front and have a look at the top of it. You're looking at the very, very top. Can you make out how the stone at the top's totally different to the rest of the column? Can you see that?
Yeah. You can.
Well, that's because the stone at the top, people believe, is the original Saxon cross. It's not a Christian cross.
No, it's not.
It's a pagan cross. And it's here because this is the Goose Fair cross. Now, question for you, Kenny, because to be honest, we've all heard the phrase, a goose fair. Have you heard of a goose fair before?
Yeah.
Why? What's a goose fair?
The only thing, I mean, literally a goose fair, I've always thought was like lots of geese all together, and then they round them up and chase them in for whatever reason, kind of thing, like a gaggle of geese.
I hope you're not thinking of swan upping. Probably not. The truth of the matter is, this was one of the sites of the original goose fairs, and a goose fair, people used to walk their geese from Newcastle, Carlisle, the Scottish borders, as far down as Sunderland. They would, and I mean, that would take 2-3 weeks to walk their geese here to the goose fair, and then they'd sell their geese. Yeah. And then by the 1800s, it was still called a goose fair, but then they were selling cattle, they were selling sheep. But when I heard that we were coming here, I tried to look out for ghost stories. There is a ghost story attached to the goose fair. But while I was looking for it, the thing that I noticed was that what used to happen at a goose fair. Yes, they'd sell geese, and yet there'd be stalls selling food and drink, and
drinking and all that,
and a few women selling themselves too. But acrobats, fire eaters, sword swallowers, and there's a word that instantly made me think of you, Kenny. Let me just, because I made a list of all the things that they.
It must be complimentary, will it?
Well, probably not. No. Right, here we go. Yeah. Jugglers, fire eaters, sword swallowers, acrobats, stilt walkers, musicians, and buffoons. That was the word I was seeking. They also did cockfighting, wrestling, bear baiting. They paid in food, goods, or coin. People got engaged here.
Right.
They would come in, the women would wear a red ribbon. If a woman was wearing a green ribbon, they were either married or their husbands and boyfriends were away. It was a financial deal. Love came after marriage. And if you're wondering about whether you'd ever heard about wearing a green willow.
Yeah, from that song.
All around my hat.
I will wear the green willow.
And why? For my true love who's far away.
Yeah,
So, you know, it all fits. Yeah. It all fits, and it's magic. Now, the story of the goose fair is that at a goose fair in the 1800s, a man who was not a buffoon, he called himself a jester, a clown, and he had 2 sticks with bells on them. Why bells on sticks? To scare away evil spirits. So you've got the jester going out, making people laugh, making people giggle. So nothing like you, Kenny. And so you had, so you had the jester doing that, and he made a joke of a big man here from Ovingham, and the man hated it. So while they were all packing away late at night, after everybody was either drunk and they'd had all their food and they'd enjoyed a good day at the fair, and a lot of them had to travel 10, 15, 20 miles, which is hours and hours and hours to get home on horses and carts. This man waited behind with some of his friends and had apparently killed the jester. And the jester's ghost is said to walk up and down the stairs that's just at the side there.
With bells.
And you sometimes hear a bell. Now, this ghost story was really famous up until about 1920. From 1920 onwards, I haven't heard, and I haven't been able to find anything about it. But that ghost was witnessed for about 120 years. And then all of a sudden, because nobody repeated it, whether he still comes back, who knows, but he's supposed to be just down here.
I think we need to where that song, what it's called.
Oh, sorry. Yes, the song's All Around My Hat. It's on the Grisly record label, performed by Steel Eye Span, sung by Maddie Pryor.
There you go.
Yes, I've got a chat with her somewhere, tucked away. Very special. But you see, that whole folk music thing, I think is quite special. It turned into rock.
Yeah.
Jethro Tull.
70s, 80s, there was a bit of that, wasn't it? And then it sort of hit the charts and stuff.
Jethro Tull came in and did a heavy bunch of it. Yeah. But this is and you see how many people drive past this place and don't even know there's a cross up there, don't even know this was the original goose fair. On saying that, I think I've got hemorrhoids coming on.
In the summer, people should just come up here, have a walk around that graveyard,
amazing.
church, go and see this.
Oh, there's more. Come with us. I'll tell you the trail to follow. Now, this building here, look amazing.
Yeah.
And it is amazing. It's the reading rooms. It's very, very famous.
He just told me there that the vicarage been turned into an Airbnb. He says there's like all carvings and all that. Like
Oh,
come from
absolutely.
years ago.
I'm going to tell you that. You can tell them that when we get there. But first things first, this is like the town hall, the civic centre.
Busy, isn't it?
The town hall. It's full of people of a certain age, Kenny. People that were,
All colours, isn't it?
yeah, little people of a certain age, an age that you would describe as just kids.
Octogenarians.
Now there is a story. There is a story about this place that we have to tell. The reading room. It opened in 1894, and the whole idea of setting this place up, and you can see it looks almost mock Tudor with the, you know, with the black and white pillars and what have you. But it opened so that this was a time before public libraries. So they created this place so that poor people could read newspapers, learn to read books, play billiards, because you didn't have access to billiards. Only the rich people played billiards. And during World War II, survivors from Dunkirk, there were so many. Remember, there's like 120,000 British, and there was a whole batch of French troops that were injured, rescued off the beaches of Dunkirk, all with horrific injuries of one sort or another. That's where they took them, Kenny. They billeted them in there. And the very last one was a man called Robert Hutchinson. Right. And Robert Hutchinson was the last man to be taken out because of he was badly injured. He was actually machine gunned by a Messerschmitt on the beach of Dunkirk. Now, to make it more fascinating, and it is fascinating, when Robert Hutchinson was taken away from this place in a military van with a red cross on the side, he died in the van on the way to Newcastle. Now, the one thing about Robert Hutchinson, the nurses at the time called him the staring man. He was in so much pain that he made a particular face. And the face that he made was that of staring. He used to, you know, he used to be like a horrific staring face. And he was in so much pain. He used to sit up in bed and he used to frighten the nurse. The nurse would be walking by and he'd just go, and everybody would jump. And then he started to improve. Enough for him. Let's move him back to his family. His family can look after him. Now, they didn't repatriate the dead, which is why just over the fence, that behind that tree, is the cross. You know, the big memorial cross, you see it? Well, they didn't bring the dead back. They just buried them where they lay. But Hutchinson was going back home. So they put him in a van. He didn't manage even to get to Newcastle before he died. And from right the way across, from 1941, when he left that building, all the way through to 1958, children used to walk past the windows looking for the staring man, because he used to pop at the window and all the kids would run away. Now, you don't know whether, you know yourself, where if you know a place is haunted, you go looking for it with all your mates. Whether or not it was just that, or whether there actually was a real ghost there, who the hell knows? But the kids would go running around the back of the building, and I presume we might be able to get a look at the back of the building. Not easily, but they used to go looking at all the windows to see if they could see the staring man, just to get a little fright. This is part of the old vicarage. It's now like an Airbnb. But so what did he tell you about it? It's right the way across there.
Yeah, it's right across.
It's a beautiful building. I'll show you the gate.
Beautiful, historic, loads of carvings in there, from Buick and stuff like that. He says all kinds of stuff. He says, and yet it's an Airbnb. They wouldn't have a clue. The people who are in there, it's like a shed, so they all packed them in there. He says, and they'll not have a clue about any of the history.
Well, you'll not. But it's an amazing story. Check that door out, Tony. It's amazing. There's also a story, you know the bridge, so just a story that I missed out. Be careful you don't get knocked down, Kenny, there's something coming. Right? That's the old vicarage. And people delivering their wares. Tesco. Now, when we were talking about the bridge, there was a story that I didn't tell you. The reason the bridge was built was because a miner who lived in Prudder had to cross the river to get to the colliery from his house. And he drowned in the water, he got washed away. So the people of the village said, we've got to put a bridge up. And we cannot expect people who are paid coppers and risk their life down the pit.
Yeah.
They cannot pay the toll every day to travel to and fro, so we got to build a bridge, and that's why that bridge was built, the original one. So it was death, and the ghost story attached to that.
You see that there?
What was it? It's the steps.
There?
It's the steps. It's the haunty steps.
Was that light off him, or was it just...
I don't know. There was some light before he turned around, though.
That was weird.
You see? Yeah, when we tell you these stories, we tell them for a reason. I think Mr. Tesco just wants to be in the show.
I think Mr. Tesco definitely does advertising free.
Let's go past Alan again.
Yeah.
But this, amazing, there used to be a group of Augustine monks who lived here. But look at that door. I mean, it's not the original door, but it's the original panels around it. The old vicarage destroyed by the Scots in 1293, 1312 and 1316. On each occasion, all of the monks butchered. Rebuilt in 1398 by Augustine canons, said to be haunted. And apparently, in 1998, there was somebody in a hot tub who saw a ghost in the bathroom and nearly soiled the water. So, over the fence. But we're walking down, so let's rock on. What already? We've not scratched the surface here, and we haven't reached the place where the ghosts are supposed to be. Hell's teeth. Hope you're going to come with us. Tony, we have had problems with some people saying, how do you see the second part? Now, I followed the instructions like everybody else last week to make sure it worked. And when I went back to the stream, it said on it, press here for part 2. So, if I can do it, you guys can do it.
There's only a couple of people that can't do it. So,
I know, but even so, I want everybody to be able to do it. How do they become supporters? Because we want you to be.
Yeah, there's just one link in the video description. You hit that, even if you're a subscriber, and part 2 will be there. If you're not, you can join there, and part 2 will be there for you. So it's all in one place.
How we in, man? Who? Right. I know it's just, I think it's probably Victorian, but they've got one of those modern posy bulbs in. But I was just saying how Dr. Frankenstein it looks, you know, from the old Boris Karloff. And along here, I think that could be one of the original doors. Looks old enough. And that's part of the vicarage over the fence. You can see it better here. You can see it over the wall. And again, if you look at what's around you, you know, the original tower. We've got a little bit of a walk down